Welcome to the bold analysis. There is something happening in this country, and it seems no one wants to talk about it, or maybe you've just decided it's the new normal. I have sampled speeches from Rigathi Gachagua many times when it comes in public. Rigathi will often address us versus them, a station where he refers to the other side, and I don't know which other side, us versus them. Us versus them is seen as number one, Azimio side versus Kenya Kwanza. The other us are Mount Kenya leaders who supported Ruto and those who supported Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. And the version takes different forms of us versus them. This issue has over time really came into play.
Na mimi ya mwisho kabisa nataka niambie County Commissioner. County Commissioner, tafuta DCIO wa Langas na utafute DCIO wetu hapa town. Wakuambie ni askari gani alipiga risasi huyo kijana. Hatutaki kupelekana kombo, tuambiane ukweli. Na vile vile wewe County Commissioner pia unajua ulitenganisha watu wetu hapa na fitina mingi. Sisi tumekusamea, but you must resign this government. Hatuwezi kukubali hiyo maneno. Tuambiane ukweli ndio inji ipone. Mulikuwa mnataka vita katika taifa la Kenya, lakini sisi kama timu ya Kenya Kwanza tulisimama imara na tukahubiri amani na siasa imeisha. County Commissioner, ujipange my friend. Lazima uende nyumbani. Asante na Mwenyezi Mungu awabariki.
And the challenge here is this. There was a discussion we had in this country some 4 years ago when President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga said that it was about time we look at what is called winner takes all. The winner takes all cure was temporarily solved by the handshake, the last general election. An attempt to expand the executive through the BBA process collapsed, and it was never to be addressed. And we have seen William Ruto also initiating a process of making sure that the office of leader of opposition is well funded and entrenched fully in the constitution, so that it can actually become part of structures within government. It should be a legally binding office. That is what William Ruto has addressed. And for me, I also look at it in terms of solving what is called winner takes all. But I want to bring your mind to something that while it can be seen at the national, at the apex, that it's addressing something for the big boys, but there is something that the administration is getting a little bit wrong. Rigathi Gachagua, in instances, have maintained that they want to sort people who supported them first, and I'll get to those collections. People who supported them first, I don't know, people who, tupatie hawa, like hii kazi ni kama inagawiwa tu, just giving people.
Mambo iko jiani. Iko ingine tutatangaza hivi karibuni, mnasikia Embu, Tharaka Nithi, Meru. Siko namna hiyo? Iko ingine mabarozi, Embu, Tharaka Nithi, Meru. Kwani iko nini? Si serikali nyinyi mmetupatia? Si ndio yetu? Si mtu anapanda pahali alivuna? Unavuna pahali ulipanda? Mlipanda ama kupanda? Mkivuna iko makosa? Tena mvune kabisa. Watu ya Tharaka Nithi mvune. Hii serikali ni yenu. Na ndio watu wajue mambo ya kupiga kura. Wewe upange vile unapiga kura. Sasa nimeona huyu muungwana alikuwa hapa analia ati hakupigia sisi kura. Iko shida gani? Si atatupigia mwaka ujao? Kama ameona ile maneno ingine ni ngumu, usiyakuja kwetu.
There is a video of a gentleman saying someone was demanding salary na anamtishia, anamwambia kwamba yeye hata anajua namba ya Ruto. In fact, he shared a video saying yeye anajua namba ya Ruto, so someone should not tell him anything. You know, those are not the kind of things, and that's why we're talking about this sense of entitlement.
So I'm here for my salary. I'm not paying then you want to hit me? I'm not paying you. Hi, you want to hit me? I'm not paying you. Then go on and hit me. I'm not paying you. No, wacha mambo ya kunifinya uso. Wacha mambo ya kunifinya. Siwezi peleka pahali. Really? My friend, if you don't know. Sisi, we talk with the president, my friend. Listen, huyu wacha nikuambie. Huyu listen. Unajua huyu ni mtu mshenzi, huyu ni Neli hapa, huyu ni Vero hapa. Unaona hii siku tofauti. Unaona huyu ni nani? I don't see. Unaona? Mimi ndio president peleka. There's no way you can take me. Sure? You can no take me. I talk to the president direct. Call the president. Hey, when you stupid. Mimi nikisema nikukalie saa hii wewe, utaenda na kesi mbaya. Na kuambia kweli. Utaenda na kesi mbaya. Utaenda na kesi mbaya hata si. Unajua anaona ni kama mimi wewe ni rika ya my son. Wacha nikwambie mimi si mtoto. Mimi si rika yako, wacha nikwambie. Nikisema nikukalie hata utaenda na hii kesi. Utakuwa unanipigia simu unanibeba. Utakuwa unanipigia simu ama watu wengi. Wewe. Why call you demo? Hatunakuja kuchukua pesa. No.
And this thing has escalated. I know that during the recent conference of majority members of parliament, there was a discussion that was floated that Kenya Kwanza should eject all the county commissioners who never supported them. It's not a coincidence, because I can make a speculative guess that maybe this came from Oscar Sudi. Oscar Sudi, just a few days after William Ruto was declared winner, they were in some event in Uasin Gishu, and he said that wewe kwanza unafaa uenda. In fact, he was referring to Uasin Gishu County Commissioner, that they need to go. This is not shocking, because of course behind the scene there have been efforts of some revenge mission. And Raila had made also a statement that some permanent secretaries who are actually employees of the government were knocked out because they were close, of course, in the new restructure. Some of the people that were employed in government by former President Uhuru Kenyatta have ceremoniously been shown the door and forcefully ejected from the offices. And Rigathi is in the record saying, I think in Embu, that nyinyi mlipiga kura ni time. Nyinyi mlipiga kura, sasa lazima muangalie. And I remember, it's not a new thing, because even former president at one point said, sisi mnakula nini sisi tukikula nyama. There was something to show that as we're eating, we have it, as you guys are complaining. I think it was before the 2017. And handshake was a concept by then that little bit toned down. The challenge we have is what is called winner takes all. To William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua, you are the topmost CEOs of the country. Let me just remind you that we've had divisive and high-octane politics. Our politics has been do or die, because people think that if my person is not in power, then I am doomed. Of course, we have representative democracy, where we are represented by our leaders. And that representation meant that unless you're on table, then your issue cannot be addressed. So this matter needs to be really to be looked at. I know that it's just a point I'm raising. And if you look at current surveys, people are being asked, what is the stake of government? The revisit mission, where we've seen, I know if you do a research, you'll realize that more than 30% of people who are close to Raila, or either Raila or Uhuru, and in government, seems to have left the office. And if you want to make your guess, just look at the cabinet. Of course, there is no rationale of picking cabinet is the highest decision-making organ of government. So on there you can excuse and say you need to have your own dream team. But even if that is allowed, but seems to be a perception is sinking that we are chasing people from government, and that mass exodus, that mass exit is because of political expediency. We seem to bring a narrative we seem to bring a dominant narrative, and it's damaging that unless it is one of our own. I don't know if we continue this way, where people feel we are in government because it is us, and sisi tuliunda, sisi tulipiga kura, and it's us. When you go to 2027, someone will approach election by toxifying the voters. That look here, if we don't get it, we can't get what you really want. You can't achieve your ambition. And that's why our elections have become divisive for long. I think President Ruto and Gachagua, now that they are the new blood, and they're also making generational transition, they campaigned on the platform of economy, they would have at least had a liberty of handling and correcting this, because they said they did not campaign on the tribal lines, even though we know in terms of gathering votes, it all went tribal. But they said they campaigned on economic platform. Because it's about economy, we would have seen bit of that balance. Because without that, we are simply getting this wrong. Kindly subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell, and like our video. The tragedy here is that these people we are ejecting out of government are regrouping. And I can tell you that in 2027, expect a very strong duel. It's going to be high-octane politics, because we've already set a wrong precedence. The precedence here is, unless I am at the table, I can't get it. And it's so bad. We seem to be rolling back the country into what is called disharmony. The disharmony, let me give you a good example. In Nyanza, there is a former chairman of Lake Basin Authority is all out abusing Raila and calling Raila all sorts of names, simply because he's saying that when Raila fights for the people and when he gets something, they don't get employed. Actually, that veteran politician, if you ask me, is seeking the attention of the president so that he can get a job. That's it. The whole team around Owalo, those Nyanza failures, those who failed in the elections. So that is what has happened, that unless one of our own, and it's not a very good precedence that we are setting. How about when we vote and when results are out, kila mtu anajishika, hey, another 5 years we're going to suffer. And I can tell you, Azimio supporters are grafted in the mind that, look here, we have booked ourselves suffering for the next 5 years. Simply because it's not one of our own. We need to correct this. I don't know, and I don't want to say that President Ruto have a special remedy on this. We've had this for some time. It's not going to be solved overnight. But at least we need to look at it. The challenge here is, when we go this way, we are really putting a lot of stake in our politics, and this will overrule, or rather overwhelm, our democracy. What I'm saying is this. We have gone to an extent, we are from an election where Azimio team were holding their stand that it was infiltrated by the Western powers. So that, the election management regime by then favored William Ruto. What are we saying? And now that has happened and someone is in power. So when it comes next general election, we have a lot of stakes on what kind of government we're going to have next time. And because of this, we can infiltrate. And the focus will be on getting power by hook or crook. Now, that's what derails, or rather erodes, our democracy. Because I've made up my mind, unless it is me. It is not a very good position for the country to be. Now, This is what even, and I think Ruto needs, and he knows this, I think, that when you work, you give seats on political expediency, and you seem to reward loyalist people who campaign with, it's fine. And Ruto has been praised on this. That's rewarding people who campaign for him. And that praise is a trap. Amepatia yule campaign na yule campaign na yeye, but he's giving them everything. He's giving them everything. Look at the way the appointments are being done. You look at it, you're like, hey, you're bored. It's not adding up. So, the risk that also this poses even to the administration is you will have people who are entitled and have political immunity, because they're your people and you give them because they campaign for you, they tend to enjoy some political immunity, and this can make them be very corrupt because they feel, after all, I said this and over again. It is about time we solve the issue of winner takes all, and it's not at the top, at hapa chini. The grouping can become very amorphous and very hostile to the government of the day because they think they've been ejected from the system simply because they are not politically right with the CEO of the nation.